Well, four wheels drive the body, but they say about two wheels actually moves the soul. And today, the reason why I'm wearing a motorcycle jacket is because we have a special guest on the show today. We are going to talk about Royal Enfield, and we have Siddhartha Lal of Royal Enfield with us in conversation about the company, about the industry, and where the runway of growth is looking from here on. Siddhartha, thank you very much for this opportunity. Lovely to be in this store with you. We've all seen a period of extraordinary growth for the company, and the way from one big bulky looking bike 2 decades back, Royal Enfield, the way it has really transformed into a sophisticated machine, tech upgrades and the design. But the company seems to be hitting rough weather now, and the market is concerned whether this period of extraordinary growth is coming to an end. Well, there have been reasons behind some amount of hiccups. We'll get into that. But you know, how would you like to tell these shareholders of yours, the market, about the growth trajectory and the recent bit of slowdown which appears to have come in the numbers?
Yeah, sure. I mean, firstly, thanks. And yes, it is lovely to be in this store in one of our first Royal Enfield brand stores, you know, which we started this concept of different stores. And, we've been on a tremendous run. I mean, we've been on a run which one couldn't have imagined 10 years ago. Compounded over the last 8-9 years, we've had over 40% growth. And that takes a strain as well. You know, that's not easy to manage. Growth is, I mean, it's a very nice problem to have, but it's still a problem to manage. And
it's like riding a tiger.
It is. But it's been exceptional for us. At different points of time, we've had to focus on different aspects of the business. So the first part in 2010, we'd done a lot of groundwork on product, and we'd done a lot of groundwork on you could say distribution, because that's what, or let's say brand, because that's what got us there. Then from 2010 onwards, when the real growth started, we had to focus on our manufacturing, on our supplier base, and that's transformed. By 2015, that was totally transformed. It was a totally different level. And in that time, what we've done is we've really put in a very strong distribution base. So we've put in very strong foundations into Royal Enfield, which has really we've been able to make this growth from 50,000 to 800,000 plus, 8 lakh plus. And of course, in every journey like this, there's always a few ups and downs. So after 8 years of, you could say, stupendous and not linear, I mean, nearly exponential growth, sure, we've had a bit of, let's say, clouds and hiccups, but that's normal. I mean, a month here, 3 months there. It's now we're becoming a normal company again. Okay, earlier we used to be quite abnormal in the sense the market was up, market was down. It didn't affect us. We just kept going up. So really, this is the point where perhaps you could say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Right? We're also rolling up our sleeves, and we have been preparing. We've been preparing for, let's say, war in the time of peace, in a sense, right? So we've been doing our homework. We're an exceedingly focused company, right? We don't do anything else. We do a few old school, modern classic, gorgeous motorcycles. That's what we do. And it's a motorcycling culture that we're creating. So that nothing changes. It's just that we do need to reorient a few things here and there, which is part of life, right? And we're getting external signals. But we like to keep it raw as well. We like to keep it raw. So, you know, external signals come to us. There's shareholders that you talked about. There's media. And that's great that they're reacting. They're telling us what they think. It doesn't mean we're going to react immediately to
no, you're right. Yeah. You're right. And sometimes I would say that the stock market becomes a little harsh towards a company. They've been seeing you when you were a small company doing 5,000 units. Look at the base of the company now. And in the life cycle of a company, a lot of, when the size changes, the growth rates change. The question is whether you're still on the growth trajectory with the growing base or not. So what is the message you would like to tell them that the trajectory is intact?
Well, firstly, the stock market's been extremely kind to us as well, or extremely or supported us a lot over the last decade. And this is what happens. I mean, it's, you know, when there's one negative, then it's sort of, you extrapolate 10 years to the negative. When there was a few positive signals, then you extrapolate 10 years to the positive, right? That's generally the trend. But I take all of this with a pinch of salt. For us, we keep things very real. I mean, it would have been very easy. So everyone's reacting very terribly to this, to our December numbers where we're down 13%. Fair enough. I mean, I can understand why. But it would have been very easy. It would have gone totally unnoticed if we just pushed 5,000-6,000 more motorcycles into the market, and I mean, that's what all other companies do. But we don't do that. That's not what we want to do. We want to keep it real. We want to make sure that our inventories are right. They're not there to satisfy a couple of investors or media. That's not how we operate, because we're looking at this from an extremely long-term perspective, and a few blips here and there will only weed out, let's say, people who are not perhaps very long-term investors, and that's okay with me actually. That's I'm a long-term investor, and I hope all the others who are there are similar, and they believe in our story, and our story is still intact. I mean, we're on the premiumization trend. We're doing gorgeous things in India, and in the world market. I mean, stores like this, we have 850 plus stores. There's nothing like this in India. There's absolutely nothing.
No, we are going to talk about some of these gorgeous machines and the new Interceptor and GT, which I'm personally considering to get on.
Nice.
But before that, let's analyze the factors which have been responsible for this.
Absolutely.
Which have come together: the tech upgrades, the ABS-related issues, the Kerala, your Chennai plant strike. Then there were insurance costs, which hurt the ownership pattern, and of course, some of the markets are getting matured. Kerala floods. Talk to us individually how these have really impacted and come together and clubbed together. It appeared big.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not in our nature to sort of to justify and make excuses, because that's not the point of all of this. Sure, there have been a lot of individual things, but there always have been. Earlier, what happened was that we had a huge order book which could buffer for any individual problem. So if 5 years ago there was a problem like Kerala floods, then we had an order book in all other markets which could take care of that, right? So sure, there have been individual areas like certainly in markets, for example, you're talking about Kerala, we're talking about maturity of certain markets, all of that. But honestly, for me, the real thing which has happened, which has taken some time and is taking some time for the market to react to the new normal, is increased price of the motorcycle, increased costs because of insurance and other factors, ABS, all of that, rear disc brake. So what's happened is that normally a 3 to 5% cost increase every year, you can easily pass on, no problem. Customers really don't mind, right? It's part of inflation which happens to everything. But a 15% increase, it starts getting tough. To pass that on. So we've also learned from that process. Maybe we should have broken it up in more steps, done other things, but now we're here. So really, it was a bit of that, which I would say, which is a bit more abnormal, because otherwise, individual market issues will always happen, right? In UP, something happens, here something happens, election plus, minus, who knows? But those are things that normally we just weather. But actually, I think it's only the price thing which has affected us a bit, but now we are getting back on track on that. We've seen that, in fact, one of the things in December was we flushed out all 2018 bikes, right? As many as possible. Of course, there's a few left in the market, but the idea was to lower inventory so that we could flush out bikes, so people wanted 2019 motorcycles.
Because there was talk of inventory build-up at select dealerships, which has never been the case. The folklore is that Enfield, you always have had 8-9 months of waiting period. That seemed to have come down.
That's gone. Of course, the 8-9 months has gone long ago. It had come down to 3-4 months. Now, some models 15 days, 20 days, some models available off the shelf. The thing is that the inventory is at extremely normal levels. In fact, much less than any other two-wheelers. But we do have inventory now, right? So there's no build-up, there's no pile-up of inventory, there's nothing like that. But there is the fact that we have some inventory, which is also good. I mean, availability. Earlier, everyone used to shout and scream, Shadi season is coming, people want bikes immediately. Right? So stuff like that. We used to miss out on those opportunities. Now, of course, we should be able to catch some of those, but there are other issues which come into play.
Before I talk to you about your international strategy and the market which you are working on globally, let's talk about breakdown of India market. Kerala is highly penetrated market. How are trends over there? Even Maharashtra and Karnataka were highly penetrated, but you still are scratching the surface or have not done extremely meaningfully in large market like UP.
Yeah.
How are you analyzing your big markets? Which are the ones which are maturing and which are the ones which are showing opportunity in terms of breakthrough or breaking into?
So, for mature markets, exemplified by Kerala, which is where we're the biggest motorcycle brand in Kerala, right? Ahead of all the Indo-Japanese style motorcycles, with around 33%, 30+%. There, where every third motorcycle which is sold is a Royal Enfield, Royal Enfield has become a ubiquitous brand in a very positive way. It's like, your Apple phone or something which is ubiquitous now, but in a positive way, right? So people aspire to it, people are able to access it, the income levels are higher there, the distribution is cracking there, the residual value, the resale price of a Royal Enfield is extremely good, so it's a very liquid asset when you're buying a Royal Enfield in Kerala. So a lot of positive signs. So in a market like Kerala, now it's not about brand recognition. And when I say Kerala, I mean I'm now extrapolating to South or maybe more of the developed markets for Royal Enfield, maybe even including Punjab and a few other southern markets and a few cities like Delhi, Bombay and all, which are very mature markets for us, right? So in these markets, what's very important now is all the work that we're doing on the one hand on the market, on the development front of rides and community, because that's what people are really interested in and engaging in. And the other is new products, right? So a classic 350 has become, nearly now the new normal.
And very international design and the bikes, both GT and Interceptor. Talk to us about how GT and Interceptor potentially could do for you in your international offerings, where people are used to bigger bikes and it's an established norm. Biking means big bikes. And do you think in some of the international markets which you already stepped into, you can do a India over the next 5-8 years, which could get you the next leg of growth?
That's absolutely the plan. So we've been, we've been scouring the markets, we've been participating in international markets for a long time now, a bit more under the radar, right? Because, and I would break the global markets into two just for our convenience. One is developed countries, US, UK, Europe, Japan, Australia, where there's a big motorcycling culture, or culture of big motorcycles, let's put it that way. But the market is small.
Okay.
It's not in the millions per year, it's in the tens and hundreds of thousands per year, right, in the overall motorcycle market. And there is where we already have a decent distribution, we have a brand recall, we have all of that. So what's happening is that these motorcycles fit in perfectly. You're seeing the reviews in markets around the world, in developed countries. Absolutely fantastic, because we've just hit the spot in the right manner at the right time with these modern classic motorcycles. So, so we expect really good growth there. But markets like developed countries, they're not going to be the next India. Okay. Right? I don't mind if they are, but I don't think they'll be the next India. So where the next India is going to come from is markets like Southeast Asia, Latin America, and there what we did is we put one store in some of these markets with the product at the right price, the price which it would be if it were selling there at CKD, right? So that's where we expect, and what we've, in Southeast Asia, we are now zeroed in on Thailand as our nodal market, because that's where we expect that the upgraders will come from, because there also there's a large offering of 100, 150, 200cc motorcycles, but then the mid-bike market is underserved. Okay. It's vastly underserved.
Let's talk about the competitive landscape then. Absolutely. Because there is a company which has come up with another, I know you wouldn't take the name, but it's also vintage kind of offering. One of the cousins of Royal Enfield of last few decades has come back in the form of Jawa motorcycles. But Himalayan also, I've seen some of the international companies put their products near Himalayan. So you have had competition sniffing around and trying to put their products around your offerings. Yeah. How are you analyzing the competitive landscape in particular with these two?
So for us, we take competition very seriously. We study, understand, ride. I've ridden pretty much every motorcycle out there. Not in the very big motorcycle category, but basically everything which is either a source of growth for us, which is smaller motorcycles, or direct competitor to us. So we understand the motorcycle, we understand the product, we understand the idea, the distribution, the business model, all of that. So we put a lot of attention there, but but our strategy is our own. It's not determined by other people. And what we do is, and of course, over the last 10 years, we've had such an outstanding growth. We're the most profitable from a percentage perspective motorcycle, perhaps even automobile brand in the world. So there will be competition. There will be guys saying, I want a piece of that pie, right? And that's what's happening. And we've had competitors come in from all sides. We've had competitors come in from the Indians, the Japanese, the Indo-Japanese, the Americans, Europeans, all of that. So there's competitors all over. And we're competing with some of the biggest companies in the world. But, and of course, everyone comes in with a different angle, right? So there are some which try and copy you or ape you or pretend, let's say more the copycat type of chaps. Then there are some who try and take the market to a different space. So that's what competition tries to do. Now, as far as we're concerned, we have some strengths which are absolutely on a totally different level. Our distribution, our brand, our residual value, our understanding of consumer, our community, all of those things are at a totally different level. Our aftermarket, our all of that.
It will take decades for them to build all of that.
So one is that, and the other is, people just expect to come in and do something interesting, but it takes perseverance, and that's what we're there for. We're single-minded focus. I mean, other companies that you talk about, they always hedge their bets. They have like 10 different things that they try and do. Hopefully one will stick. That's not our approach. Our approach is we do one thing, we do it superbly, and we move people in. And that's also been a testament to, if you've been now understanding what the new generation of products of Royal Enfield are about, it's about things like the Interceptor, and that's a totally different generation of product.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask your broad vision for the next 5-7 years. What's on the anvil, the UC platform, what kind of upgrades, or what would the big message you would like to give to your shareholder community?
Yeah, so of course, on the one hand, and you've asked also from that perspective, the first thing which comes to everyone's mind, because we're a motorcycle company, is motorcycles, right? Sure. So obviously I'll answer that first. But we're not only about motorcycles. Royal Enfield extends way, way, way beyond just the sum of the motorcycles that we have, right? So I'll get to that. But from a motorcycling perspective, let's just play it out. One is that we have these new platforms, the twins, right? And the twins, we have the Interceptor, we have the GT. We will certainly have variants of these. We'll certainly have other motorcycles on these platforms over the years, like we do in our singles, right? So this is the start of them. But really, this is a roadster style motorcycle, the Interceptor. So this is the one that is going to sell the most, and this is going to sell in volume. When you sit on it, you have the right stance, all of that. So this is the main offering from the twins right now, and this, over the next many, many years, will continue to evolve. This will get into a BS6 format. It'll evolve and all of that. So that's where this is going, and this is really a global motorcycle. We expect it to do excellently around the world, but also do the extreme heavy lifting in India for upgraders, especially in more mature markets. So that's the role for the twins. The Himalayan, after perhaps a rocky start, when we first started it, the BS4 Himalayan, which is that motorcycle now with the ABS and everything, is doing really well. You read the reviews. We had a review from one of the top magazines right now, just this few days ago. That's why recency effect, comparing us to a German one, to a Japanese one, and the Himalayan. Himalayan comes out on top, right? In a shootout of adventure tourers.
And that's why perhaps BMW is trying to bring.
But we come out on top. We come out on top of them. We come out on top of everybody from a context of lower mid-size adventure tourers, because the Himalayan has really hit the spot, and now we're seeing traction again. Again, Himalayan was a shot in the dark for us in terms of the fact that there was no market for adventure tourers when we come in. But now we are seeing good traction for Himalayan.
So last question then. You've done what, 40% plus for last 10 years. So it has been a huge growth. Now the base is bigger, and your strategy is also evolving with the kind of products. Last decade you were only a domestic company, now you are evolving into an international company. Would it be right to say that on a widening base, some moderation of that number, and then the runway of growth is open? Or you think there will be a big, meaningful downgrade for the growth, and before the next big leg of growth comes in?
Again, it's honestly, it was, if you were having this discussion in 2010 and you asked me about my future prospects, I am 100% sure I wouldn't have said that over the next 10 years we'll grow at 40% compounded, right?
Not expected.
That was absolutely not expected. And it's impossible for me or anyone to predict what will happen. I can only tell you what we're working up towards and which are the areas which will give us that delta, let's say. So as far as we look at it, is that we've had this outstanding period of growth of 40% over the last 8-10 years, and that certainly started slowing down over the last few years because of various factors, because of maturity of markets, and we have all of that. Okay, fine. Sure. So now as we speak, the next, but still, where Royal Enfield is on the right end of the curve. We're on the premiumization trend in India. That's not going to abate. People who are riding cheap and commuter motorcycles, they will want to upgrade to bigger, better motorcycles. So that market is bound to grow. We expect, or we believe, that if we can pull off what our story of the premiumization trend through products, distribution, community, and all that work that we're doing, we should certainly be growing at and targeting double the rate of growth of the Indian motorcycle industry. Now, that may not happen every single year, and that might be a bit more patchy or choppy than earlier, but if the industry is going at 7%, we should grow at 14, right? Or if the industry is going at, whatever it is. So that's, in our minds, because we're driving premiumization, that's the kind of thing we'd like to do over the next 5-7 years, right? And growing at double the industry over a sustained period is no mean feat, and it will get us, the compounding rate will be absolutely fantastic, but our base is very large now. So that's absolutely our objective. Then the delta on top of that will be our international, which is still at early stages, but we're seeing signs now, and because we've started working on distribution, we've done a lot of work, and now with these new products, we can see
if you get a jackpot in some of the developed markets, which may turn half of what India has turned for you, then that will be the big delta, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been doing this now I've been running this company for 18 years. So, and now I finally feel like
You feel confident that?
No, now I really feel like I totally get it, right? Because it takes time to get things. And now I really feel that, you are able to see when you're in flow, when things are going on, how to manage certain things.
Now you can take more shots which are
yeah, and on the one hand, and on the other hand, we keep bringing in ideas and thoughts from outside in to revitalize this, because also maybe some of what I'm doing or what we're doing in our company, our management, which is very strong, is maybe it's a bit staid, maybe it's a bit old-fashioned. So we bring in a lot of new energy. But yeah, I think we're at that point where Royal Enfield has had this big growth phase. We've put in all the pieces, and we had the luxury of time in the first round. We had 10 years where we were under the radar, no one cared about Royal Enfield from 2000 to 2010, and then we started growing. So what I want to do is make sure that we don't get too taken in by our daily pressures, that the machinery of value delivery of Royal Enfield, that continues as an efficiency machinery, but the machinery of value creation, that means new product, new markets, new ideas, new ways of working with consumers, new way of forming the communities, those are still fresh, and we put a lot of new different energy into those. So that's how we want to take things further.
Well, Siddhartha, it was it was an honor to meet you today and have this discussion. It doesn't come about, to me at least, for a company which is slowing down in any meaningful fashion. Let's see if the market, how the market digests this commentary from you. Wonderful chatting with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Guys, with that, it's back to you.